All right, y'all, moving along. Hopefully my microphone is working. I should probably go through the app and test it and see what's going on. I think it sounds all right. Let me know. All right, so moving on along here. So my name is Heather with Underwater Panther. And in this video, we are continuing the moral load bearing series by going much deeper into Aquarius through the inner and outer masculine and feminine quadrants, the distortion order, and the healthy integration order of the system itself. In the prior videos, I already laid down the larger architecture. So actually, I'm going to bring this up already. And Aquarius, I'm going to have to move that. I'm going to make it small in the corner for a moment. All right, Aquarius. We're in Aquarius, talking about Aquarius in the moral load series. All right, so in the prior videos, I already laid down the larger architecture. I broke down the three main axes of this framework. So first, the overall masculine to feminine ranking overall across all 12 archetypes seen on the left. Second, the moral load bearing ranking. I broke down the prior video was absolutely phenomenal. I would say that it is my most favorite video besides my Native American series teachings on here. My prior video, what did I call it? It's a good question. Let me see what I called it. I am so proud of the prior video. I'm gonna have to actually click on it and see what I called it. So Aquarius, INTJ, why they carry systems, moral load bearing, and polarity, system, intro, and archetype map. So that is my absolutely favorite video I have ever created on this channel ever. You certainly need to check that out. So I break down the entire system I've been working with the past decade of my life. It's awesome. I love it. So it explains all 12 archetypes through the masculine and feminine axis overall, moral load ranking system, all 12 archetypes, what moral load they carry. There are two different nervous system types, retention nervous systems and the motion nervous system. So the top tier moral load bearers, they tend to retain structure, responsibility, consequences, so they hold more moral weight internally and through action. And then the lower tier, we are in tier 4 right now, talking about the motion nervous system. So they tend to move energy, move consequence, move responsibility. They don't necessarily carry heavy moral load. All right, so I broke down all of that. I also introduced Aquarius's inner and outer masculine and feminine distortion order. There is a healthy integration order for the nervous system. So the inner and outer masculine and feminine quadrants are explaining the nervous system under pressure. And there is a distortion order we tend to develop over our lifespans. So that was a mouthful. All right, so we went over the moral load bearing ranking, meaning where consequence is retained, how long it stays active in the system, and what each archetype is actually carrying under pressure. Definitely check out the prior video if you want to understand my entire system I am working with currently. And third, I introduced the brief inner and outer masculine and feminine distortion order so that we can start seeing not just what each sign or type looks like, but where its nervous system begins, what it trusts first, what it delays, and how it resolves reality. So those earlier videos gave the map. They showed where Aquarius sits in the larger system, but this video is not just about where Aquarius sits. So they are third masculine in my most masculine to feminine overall ranking system. And I believe they are I'm going to mess up. I think they're number 10 on my moral ranking. I can't see let me see if I can actually pull that up. Moral load. I don't have a number on there. All right. So anyways, and this video is about how Aquarius actually works. So it's not just about where Aquarius sits, overall masculine through feminine, and moral load bearing. So we're tying it all together. Astrology, I forgot to tell you, I mix astrology with psychology. Astro-Psychology. So astrologically, you have Uranus and Saturn ruling Aquarius. We have Neptune and Mercury in exaltation, Sun in left field, and Pluto in fall. Psychologically, we have introverted intuition hero, extroverted thinking parent, introverted feeling child, and extroverted sensing inferior. And now I am updating. I've already updated all of my key cards to reflect the inner and outer masculine and feminine quadrants within their nervous system. Okay, so Aquarius, this is where we stop speaking in broad ranking language and start walking through the machinery from the inside. We're going to look at what happens when Aquarius develops under pressure. I don't know why my screen just got so freaking bright. All right. Actually, I need it a little bit brighter. So Aquarius develops when Aquarius develops under pressure. What happens when the sequence of its internal operations shift out of order? Why certain quadrants become overtrusted and others become delayed? And why the same archetype that can feel so precise, visionary, and structurally brilliant can also feel distant, prematurely resolved, or late to engage with reality in real time. Hello, SC inferior. Because that is really the core issue with Aquarius or the INTJ. Aquarius does not lack depth, it does not lack intelligence, it does not lack awareness. Aquarius has a sequencing issue. It does not begin where a regulated human system is meant to begin. It begins in a place that is adaptive for pattern survival. Hello, NI hero. But costly for relational accuracy and timely action. FI child and SC inferior. And that is what we are going to break down today. So we're going to walk through the healthy order of a functioning nervous system. We're going to talk about why distortion exists at all. We are going to go into childhood development and environmental adaptation and how Aquarius learned to trust internal pattern recognition before external reality was fully received. Then we are going to move quadrant by quadrant through inner feminine, inner masculine, outer feminine, and outer masculine. So you do see that represented as IF, IM, OF, and OM. IF, inner feminine, IM, inner masculine, OF, outer feminine, and OM, outer masculine. And show what each part of the system is doing, why it activates when it does, and how the cognitive functions and planetary layers express through it, and what other people actually experience when they are dealing with this archetype in real life. So this is not just a traits video. This is not just a type description. This is a deep dive into the internal architecture of Aquarius as a system. And if the first Aquarius video was about position, this one is about mechanism. If the first one explained where Aquarius lands on the map, this one explains why Aquarius behaves the way it does when reality becomes uncertain, incomplete, contradictory, or unstable. Because Aquarius does not start by asking what is happening right here. Aquarius starts by asking, what pattern is this part of? And the moment that happens, the whole order changes. All right, so I think I am done talking about the 3 axes. I'm so happy I made that key card. Freaking amazing. I don't know. I've done like 30 hours of work on this channel, on this series, and I finally got to making that visual key card of the axes. All right, so where do I want to put this here? All right, so before we define Aquarius specifically, we need to define something more fundamental first, because if we do not understand what a functioning system looks like, we cannot understand what distortion actually is. Integration is not balance, it is not vague health, it is not just emotional maturity. Integration is correct sequencing of internal operations. Every psyche has the same four jobs. It must connect to reality, process reality internally, define what reality means, and then act on reality. When those steps happen in the right order, the system feels clear, grounded, responsive, and effective. When those steps break sequence, the system distorts, not morally, mechanically. The healthy order is simple. So, even if living is not, first comes perception, then safety, then values or internal structure, then action. First, the system must register what is happening. Then, it must feel safe enough to hold what it just registered. Then, it must decide what the experience means, what is true, what matters, what stands, and only then should it act. This is not philosophical, this is biological. That is the natural developmental order of a regulated nervous system. A human system is meant to perceive reality accurately, feel safe enough to metabolize what is perceived, form internal structure from that experience, and then act in alignment with that structure. If all four of those steps are supported, the system becomes integrated. But that depends on something critical. The environment must support all four steps. And this is where everything begins to break. Distortion is not weakness. It is not simply trauma. It is not a personality flaw. Distortion is out of order processing under pressure. When pressure hits the system, it does not default to what is correct, it defaults to what is most reliable. So instead of perceiving accurately, stabilizing internally, defining truth, and then acting, the system adapts. It may define before fully receiving. It may process internally before connecting externally. It may act only after over definition. And once the sequence shifts, everything after it becomes unstable. This is why no archetype naturally follows the healthy order. It is not random, it is not just personality, and it is not as simple as saying someone had bad parenting. It is that no environment consistently supports all four layers at the same time. Every child grows up inside a system with strengths, blind spots, emotional inconsistencies, and pressure points. So the nervous system adapts, and adaptation always looks like this: prioritizing one layer over the others. That priority becomes the archetype's starting point. And under stress, the archetype over relies on that starting point. Leo starts with identity over identify and over identifies. Libra starts with interaction and over adjust. Scorpio starts with feeling and over contains. Aquarius starts with internal pattern recognition. Hello, NI hero. So its distortion begins there. And this is a deeper reframe. An archetype is not just a personality type, it is a predictable adaptation pattern to incomplete developmental conditions. Each archetype represents the same basic move. If this layer is not reliable, I will start somewhere else. This is why distortion is universal. Now we can talk specifically about Aquarius. Aquarius does not begin with external perception. So I'm going to take a brief second to bring up the distortion. So this is the key card. You will find the natural sequence of outer feminine with perceiving, inner feminine with safety, inner masculine with value, and outer masculine with act. All right, trying to figure out where I need to stay here. All right, so the healthy integration order is at the bottom. Aquarius's system survival Distortion order is in order on the screen in my notes. So Aquarius starts with inner feminine and Hero, Saturn, and Uranus ruling. Then they go into their inner masculine with TE parent, Neptune, and Mercury in exaltation. Then they go into the outer feminine with FI child and Sun in left field. And then outer masculine with SE inferior and Pluto in fall. I'm actually going to write left field. And did I? Okay, so yeah, I did put exalt. I don't know why I didn't write that in there. Okay. All right, so Aquarius does not begin with external perception. We have introverted intuition here, not because it lacks awareness, but because it does not trust external input at face value. Aquarius develops in environments where surface level information is inconsistent, emotional fields are unclear or unreliable, or you live in a house that's full of intellectuals and they don't emotionally connect like that. Hello, Leo, left field, sun. The intelligence is there, the warmth may not be. Just saying. That doesn't mean that it was an unloving environment. You just prioritize one thing over the other. Logic over feelings, for example. And what is visible does not match what is actually happening underneath, so the system adapts. Instead of trusting what is happening externally, Aquarius begins trusting what is happening structurally underneath. All right, so instead of starting with what is happening right here, Aquarius starts with what pattern is this part of? And that is the moment the order shifts. For Aquarius, that somewhere else is inner feminine with pattern perception. So IF is notated in that quadrant, inner feminine. So instead of the healthy human order of outer feminine to inner feminine, to inner masculine to outer masculine, Aquarius becomes inner feminine to inner masculine to outer feminine to outer masculine. Contain, define, connect, and act. This is the natural distortion sequence. So I have that notated at the top. I put perceive rather than contain, define, and then I have connect, so values or detach, and act or engage late. So that is the natural distortion sequence for Aquarius or the INTJ. Now let's walk the childhood development clearly. All right, so I actually lost a page. Where'd it go? I'm pulling from 3 different things here. Okay, there we are. All right, there. All right, so a child is meant to begin with perception. That means receiving reality as it is. This requires consistent external signals, clear relational feedback, and environments that reflect reality accurately. But for Aquarius, this layer is not stable enough to fully trust. So instead of staying there, the system bypasses it. Aquarius pulls perception inward immediately, not to feel it, but to map it. The child begins asking without consciously wording it, what is actually happening underneath this? What pattern does this belong to? Where is this going? So instead of receiving reality, Aquarius translates it. So you can see that with Saturn. All right, so perception becomes pattern recognition, not presence. And what this feels like internally at the child level is not a sentence so much as a nervous system impression. Something is off here. I need to figure this out myself. I can't rely on what I am seeing. So instead of connecting first, the system contains first. Once the pattern is contained, Aquarius moves immediately into definition. So that is TE parent, quadrant, inner masculine. So it builds systems, explanations, and frameworks. This creates early strength, but also early distortion because the system is now defining reality before fully receiving it. So the structure becomes accurate internally, but incomplete externally. Then comes connection with FI child, outer feminine quadrant, sun and left field. But now connection is delayed. It does not happen before definition, it happens after it. So instead of connecting to understanding, Aquarius connects to express. This is why the child may feel present but not fully engaged, expressive but not adaptive. They are a fixed modality. Fixed modality. Aquarius is fixated in their own thinking and communication. Air, intellectual. All right, so this is why the child may feel present but not fully engaged, expressive but not adaptive, clear but not relationally fluid. And finally, action with outer masculine and SE inferior and Pluto and fall. But by this point, the system has already contained an I hero quadrant, defined TE parent quadrant, and partially expressed with FI child quadrant. So action feels risky, unnecessary, or premature unless fully justified. The child learns don't act until it makes complete sense. Whew, it's a rough one. Y'all, I want to take a poll. I can't really take a poll. Eventually, I'll be able to do live streaming. I do not have the internet, so I'm sorry for all the glitching issues. But, anyways, do y'all have a perfectionistic issue? Do y'all feel like you need to have something 20 years research before you can give a presentation? Let me know. I feel you. My Mercury is Aquarius 11th house. So my thinking and communication is in Aquarius. I feel this energy through and through. All right, so action feels risky, unnecessary, or premature unless fully justified. The child learns don't act until it makes complete sense. And that becomes the lifelong pattern. This is what healthy integration actually means for Aquarius. Aquarius does not need to stop starting internally. That is its strength. What it needs to do is reintroduce connection, FI child quadrant, before definition, TE parent quadrant. So the sequence becomes contain with NI, connect FI, define TE, act instead of contain, define, connect, act. So this is the whole shift. So we're trying to go from NI hero to FI child, which is a actually natural, according to the psychological arena, you loop between the hero and the child. They are positive aspirational functions. And so there's a lot of energy here for Aquarius to use these functions. So that's just kind of fascinating to me. So that is the whole shift. Aquarius still sees patterns first, but now it allows reality to update the pattern before locking it into structure. And when that happens, systems become more accurate, definitions require less correction, relationships become clearer, and action becomes more timely. Aquarius does not lose precision. It gains alignment with reality as it exists, not just as it is understood internally. Aquarius did not choose understanding over connection. Its system learned early that internal pattern was more reliable than external reality. That is the clean takeaway. Aquarius does not lack perception. It learned to trust internal perception before external reality was fully received. So that's why they start in the inner feminine first rather than the outer feminine. All right, so now we can move into the full system map. Every psyche is designed to move reality through 4 stages. It connects to reality, contains it, defines it, and acts on it. This is structural, not personality based. But Aquarius does not begin there, not because it is broken and not because it is missing anything, but because it is optimized for something different. Aquarius does not trust reality at the surface level, it trusts the pattern underneath reality. It trusts what something is becoming more than what something appears to be. So instead of beginning with connection, Aquarius begins with containment, not emotional containment, pattern containment. It pulls reality inward immediately and begins mapping it. It asks what this is structurally before it ever fully engages with what is happening externally. And that shift reorganizes the entire system. So every psyche still has the same four roles. There's always a part of the system responsible for connecting to reality, a part responsible for processing it internally, a part responsible for defining what it means, and a part responsible for acting on it. Those roles do not change. What changes is which part of the psyche takes responsibility for each role and which one activates first. So, quadrants are not fixed positions. They are not labels, they are roles. The question is not whether NI is always inner feminine or FI is always outer feminine. The real question is, what is this mechanism doing in this system? So I wanted to hammer that down because psychological people would say that the introverted obviously functions like introverted intuition and introverted feeling are introverted functions, therefore they are more feminine. Extroverted functions, extroverted thinking, and extroverted sensing are more masculine functions, which, yes, I understand. I understand what they are saying, but I am mapping this according to the nervous system, inner and outer feminine, inner and outer masculine and feminine. So it's a little bit different. Sometimes it aligns up with the psychological definition, sometimes it does not. All right, so outer feminine is the part of the psyche that interfaces with the external world without force. Um, you know, hang on a second. I don't think I want to bring that up. I want to make a whole nother visual key card specifically for the inner and outer masculine and feminine quadrants. I think that would be really cool. All right, so outer feminine is the part of the psyche that interfaces with the external world without force. It handles contact, connection, and relational exchange. Inner feminine processes reality internally. It holds memory, stabilizes experience, builds patterning, and metabolizes what has been received. Inner masculine defines truth, builds meaning, and establishes internal authority. Outer masculine moves reality through action, enforcement, consequence, and execution. These roles do not change, but what fills them does. This is why the same function can play a different role in a different archetype. In Aquarius, NI is not supporting action or external perception. It is handling internal reception, so it becomes inner feminine. TE is not acting outwardly first. It is defining internally, so it becomes inner masculine. FI is not anchoring internally in a stable, contained way here. It expresses outwardly and selectively after understanding has already formed, so it becomes outer feminine. And it's super, super, super fascinating combining astrology here because you can really, truly understand that with FI child and sun in left field. So cool to see this. SE remains action and external engagement, but in Aquarius, it is delayed, weakened, and least trusted, so it becomes outer masculine in its most difficult form. That is the deeper realization. Quadrants are not positions, they are roles, and functions are not identities. There are tools that fill those roles differently depending on the system. This is why Aquarius can feel off if you try to map it traditionally. Aquarius is one of the few archetypes where perception itself is displaced. The universal order says perception should begin externally. Aquarius does not do that. It begins with internal perception. It reads the pattern before it reads the moment. It recognizes trajectory before it fully registers what is happening in real time. So perception is not missing, it is relocated. Aquarius replaces external perception with internal perception. It does not begin by asking what is happening here. It begins by asking what this becomes. And by the time it engages relationally, it is no longer receiving reality. It is expressing a position about reality. So what looks like detachment is not absence, it is sequence displacement. Aquarius is not skipping perception, it is perceiving the abstract before it perceives the actual. So they are future oriented in their temperament and abstract, not concrete. So they are very cerebral. All right, so it is perceiving the abstract before it perceives the actual. And by the time it reaches the external world, it is no longer open. It is already oriented, structured, and defined. Aquarius does not begin by reading reality, it begins by mapping what reality becomes. And by the time it looks up, it is no longer receiving, it is already responding. Now we can go quadrant by quadrant. So the inner feminine, I need a drink. All right, so the inner feminine is the internal processing field of the psyche. It is where reality is received, held, and metabolized before it is defined or acted on. This is not just emotional safety, it is where perception becomes internal reality. It is where experience lands inside the system, where it is absorbed, patterned, and stabilized before meaning is assigned. In a healthy form, inner feminine allows reality to fully arrive. It holds experience without immediate reaction. It processes emotional and somatic data, tracks internal state, and builds coherence through memory and pattern recognition. It creates stability by allowing perception to exist before it is interpreted. But in Aquarius, this layer functions differently because Aquarius does not begin with emotional processing. It begins with pattern absorption. Aquarius starts in inner feminine, but instead of receiving reality through presence, it receives reality through structure. The moment something enters the system, it is pulled inward and organized. OCD. It is not held as raw experience, it is translated into pattern. And this is where Ni, Saturn, and Uranus converge into one mechanism. Ni compresses reality into trajectory. It looks at a moment and sees where it leads, what it belongs to, and how it fits into a larger pattern. Saturn stabilizes that perception. It gives the pattern structure, consequence, time, and integrity. Uranus disrupts and expands it. It scans for inconsistencies, breaks in the system, and points where reality does not align with the existing model. Together, these create a very specific type of inner feminine processing. Aquarius does not receive reality as presence, it receives reality as pattern. So the moment something happens, Aquarius is not asking how it feels. It is asking what system this belongs to, what this connects to, and what this becomes. Containment happens before connection. Reality is pulled inward immediately and reorganized before it is ever fully experienced as is. This is the distortion point. Because while Aquarius is technically receiving reality, it is not receiving it in raw form. It is receiving it through abstraction. So instead of this is what is happening, the system moves directly to this is what this means in a larger structure. From the outside, this feels like Aquarius is not fully present, like it is already somewhere else, like it is processing something deeper than what is being expressed. Because it is. It is containing and patterning before it connects. So while someone else is still inside the moment, Aquarius has already moved inward and begun organizing the experience into something else. What feels like absence is not disengagement, it is internal containment happening too early. This is why inner feminine is not just safety in this system, it is where reality becomes internal. And in Aquarius, reality becomes internal as pattern before it is ever allowed to be fully experienced as presence. All right, so I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I'm pulling from multiple different notes here. Let me see what this key card says. So inner feminine quadrant, and I hero Saturn and Uranus, pattern recognition. So this quadrant represents pattern recognition, trajectory tracking, system awareness. Where is this going? Aquarius sees trajectories early, understands systems beneath reality, and lives in pattern space. It perceives the abstract before it fully perceives the actual. All right, so the inner feminine represents internal processing field, containment, perceptual integration. It is responsible for how the psyche receives, holds, and metabolizes reality internally before defining it. So, this includes somatic storage, emotional processing, memory and pattern recognition, and internal perception. So, this includes two valid expressions. Receptive, early, healthy use allows perception to land internally, processes emotional and somatic data, holds experience without immediate reaction, tracks internal state, memory, and patterning, and builds nervous system stability before meaning is assigned. When distorted or displaced, late or bypassed use, delayed emotional processing, meaning formed before feeling is integrated, overwhelm or shut down when finally accessed, reactive emotional flooding because it wasn't processed early, and confusion between feeling and threat. So the core function is internal reception and containment of reality. So that is what the inner feminine does. So the inner feminine is not just safety, it is where perception becomes internal reality. All right. Make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. So I think I said quite enough. All right. So what others experience? Have I got to that point? Okay. So what others experience here? From the outside, this feels like you're not really here with me. You're already somewhere else mentally because Aquarius is not connecting first, it is containing and patterning first. All right, so now we're going to move on to the inner masculine. All right, so inner masculine is the system within the psyche that defines reality. It is where meaning is formed, truth is established, values are structured, and internal authority takes shape. It determines what stands, it takes what has been received and organizes it into something coherent and stable. In a healthy form, inner masculine activates after reality has been fully received and internally contained. It builds structure from complete data. It forms grounded beliefs and aligns perception, feeling, and definition. But in Aquarius, this layer activates early. Once Aquarius contains the pattern internally, it moves immediately into definition. It begins organizing, structuring, and explaining what it has just perceived. It builds frameworks rapidly. It constructs meaning with precision. It translates pattern into system almost instantly. And this is where Aquarius becomes exceptionally powerful because it is not just holding reality, it is organizing it at a high level. It is converting abstract pattern into structured truth. This is where TE comes online as a defining force. TE in Aquarius constructs internally first. It takes the patterns identified through inner feminine and organizes them into coherent, scalable frameworks. It aligns information into systems that hold across time and context. But this structure is not purely mechanical. Neptune in exaltation elevates pattern into meaning that extends beyond the immediate. It allows Aquarius to synthesize across domains and build systems that explain not just what is happening, but what it represents. Mercury in exaltation articulates all of this with clarity and precision. It allows Aquarius to express abstract internal systems into a way that sounds coherent, logical, and often undeniable. So, what forms here is not just logic, it is elevated structure. Pattern synthesized into meaning, stabilized through logic, and communicated with precision. This is why Aquarius can explain reality in a way that feels expansive and exact at the same time. But this also means it can lock in too early because all of this is happening before full connection has occurred. Aquarius has already contained the pattern, defined the structure, and constructed the meaning before it has fully contacted or connected to the external environment, external moment, and received the relational reality or allowed the experience to fully land. So the system it builds is often structurally sound, but based on incomplete data. And because it is so strong, so coherent, so persuasive, it feels complete. Hello, fixated modality. Aquarius does not just form premature conclusions, it forms highly convincing premature conclusions. Take a deep breath in and out. That's why you delay your action, to make sure. From the outside, people feel like Aquarius has already decided what something is before they have fully been seen inside it. They feel interpreted instead of met, explained instead of experienced, because the system has already moved from containment into definition without passing through connection. So what feels like clarity to Aquarius can feel like distance to others. What feels like precision internally can feel like premature finality externally. That is the distortion. Aquarius does not just define reality early, it defines it extremely well before reality has fully been received. All right, so let me make sure I did not miss anything with the inner masculine. So, the inner masculine definition: internal structure, definition, and meaning truth formation. It is responsible for how the psyche defines meaning, forms truth, values, and establishes internal authority. It is responsible for how the psyche forms truth, values. All right, so I just said that. Why did I put that in there twice? I gotta delete that. I do that sometimes. So this includes logic through TI and TE, depending on the system, value formation, belief structures, moral framework, and interpretation of reality. So, in another, I can't remember inner masculine, FI, it might be Scorpio. Is it Scorpio? FI, inner masculine, I knew it. So, like in Scorpio, introverted feeling can be inner masculine. It just depends on what the personality types, distortion order, full masculine, feminine, overall energy is, moral load bearing. There's a lot that goes into this. All right, so I just wanted to bring that up. All right, so this includes two valid expressions. So constructive, mid, and healthy use organizes reality into coherent structure, forms values after perception and processing, builds stable internal beliefs, determines what is true, relevant, and worth acting on, creates alignment between experience and meaning. Premature or defensive, early or overused, forms conclusions before full data is received, rigid beliefs built on incomplete perception, overanalysis to avoid emotional processing, uses truth to control uncertainty, substitutes logic for integration. So, core function, defining what is true and what the archetype stands for. So, inner masculine is not just values, it is the system that decides what reality means. All right, let me do a brief overlook on making sure I didn't miss anything. I think I said quite a bit. There's just so much I wanted to say. I think I did pretty good here. Did I talk about Mercury? I don't feel like I did. Mercury and Neptune. All right, let me go into this a little bit more. I think I nailed it, but Neptune does not simply add abstraction, it elevates pattern into meaning that extends beyond the immediate. It allows Aquarius to see connections that are not linear, to synthesize across domains, to interpret reality at a level that feels expansive, almost universal. It introduces depth, symbolism, and conceptual reach. It allows Aquarius to build systems that do not just explain what is happening, but what it represents. So Mercury translates that entire structure with clarity and precision. Mercury does not struggle to communicate what Aquarius understands. It articulates it cleanly when it wants to. It organizes language around complex ideas. It allows Aquarius to take highly abstract, highly structured internal systems and express them in a way that sounds coherent. So yeah, I did say all this pretty well, I think. All right, so what others experience here? You're explaining me instead of being with me. All right, so I did. I've got so many notes. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I didn't want to do any more like compiling stuff into one thing. I'm running out of time to do these videos, so I tried to be absolutely as organized as possible. All right, so then Aquarius reaches the outer feminine. So the outer feminine is the external relational interface of the psyche. So field contact. It is where the internal world meets the external field without force. It is how something internal becomes externally relatable or readable. In its healthy form, it reads the environment, attunes, tracks the relational field, and receives input without immediately trying to define or direct it. But in Aquarius, this layer arrives late. All right, so let me go over this. I should have done that for the first two. All right, so the outer feminine, external relational interface, and field contact, how the psyche meets and exchanges with the external environment without force. So this includes two valid expressions. Receptive, early and healthy use, reads environment, attunes, scan relational field, and receives input. Expressive, late, and displaced use, reveals internal state outward, signals values and identity, shares selectively, expresses without adapting. So core function, connection without control. All right, so by the time Aquarius reaches the outer feminine, this layer does arrive late, by the way. So that by the time Aquarius reaches outer feminine, the system has already perceived internally, already structured meaning, and already formed a position. So when Aquarius connects outward, it is not connecting in order to understand. It is connecting in order to express what it has already understood. This is the key shift. Are you listening, Aquarius? Outer feminine in Aquarius is not primarily receptive. It is expressive. It is not asking what you are feeling. It is saying, this is what I feel. This is what I value. This is where I stand. It is the externalization of internal value after structure has already formed. This is where FI comes online as a child function. FI in Aquarius is sincere, personal, and selective. It says this matters to me, even if it does not explain why in a fully relational way. And because it is a child function, it can be clear but uneven, present but not adaptive. The sun adds visibility and identity signal, but here it does not create warmth, easy radiance, or easy radiance. It creates visible internal identity through position, principle, and stance. It's not the point, it's the principle. That was my favorite saying for years and years and years. Aquarius becomes readable not by blending into the moment, but by showing you where they stand. So, outer feminine in Aquarius becomes visible internal identity, not soft attunement, not emotional mirroring, not let me read you. But this is what I feel. This is what I value. This is where I stand. And this is why it feels so different from the outer feminine of other archetypes. So, this is where you feel cold. This is the cold, the coldness, the aloofness is the inner feminine, and the coldness is the outer feminine. Most outer feminine expressions are receptive, adaptive, and attuned. Aquarius is selective, contained, and expressive. It does not enter the field to receive it. It enters the field to reveal something from within. So this can be intimidating to some people. This is why people often experience Aquarius as hard to read at first, but very clear once it finally speaks. Emotionally present, but not interactive in the usual way. Connection is there, but it is positional rather than adaptive. So Aquarius does not use outer feminine to understand you. It uses outer feminine to show you where it stands. And this is why outer feminine here becomes connection for expression, not connection for perception. Finally, Aquarius reaches the outer masculine. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anything on the outer feminine first. Man, I think I did pretty good. I don't even really need to look at the other notes. I've got 94 notes on this one. I've got like 80 on the other. So, what others experience in the FI child quadrant. So, this is where Aquarius gets labeled detached, hard to read, selectively present, emotionally inconsistent. All right, so yeah, I nailed it. Awesome. Outer feminine, externalized relational interface. How the internal world meets the external field without force. How you relate outwardly, how you express internal state into the environment, how you interface with people, how you allow yourself to be seen and felt externally. All right, awesome. I feel pretty good, actually. So, what it's actually doing, expressing internal values outward, signaling identity selectively, allowing controlled visibility of emotion. Controlled visibility of emotion. Relating through personal truth, not attunement. That's hilarious. So, yeah, why it feels different from other outer feminine, because most outer feminine expressions are receptive, adaptive, and attuned. Aquarius is selective, contained, and expressive. Yeah. It's just, yeah, this is so like imperative to understand. Like, this is why you feel like you're in it, but not of it. Like, it's just, The typical astronaut, you're in it, but not out of it. Yeah, all right. So I'm just scanning through these notes briefly. All right. So now we're moving into the outer masculine. Outer masculine is where reality is acted upon. All right, so where decisions become movement, where boundaries are enforced, and where consequence is delivered into the external world. In healthy sequence, it comes last. It acts after perception, processing, and definition have completed. And action here is grounded, precise, and aligned. But in Aquarius, this layer is the weakest and most delayed. We've got Pluto in fall, extroverted sensing, inferior. So, not because Aquarius cannot act, but because Aquarius does not trust action without clarity. They are the strategist. And clarity for Aquarius is structural. It requires the system to make sense at a deep level before movement feels justified. You collect all the data first, you organize it, store it away, write books, and then you finally present it 10 years later. So instead of acting early and refining through experience, Aquarius refines internally and delays action until the system feels complete. This is where SE inferior becomes critical. SE is direct engagement with reality. It is the ability to enter the present moment and act on what is happening now. But as an inferior function, SE does not feel stable or safe in Aquarius. So Aquarius hesitates, it observes instead of entering, it refines instead of moving, it waits instead of acting. Not out of laziness, not out of passivity, but because acting before the system is fully resolved feels like introducing error into reality. But because acting before, okay, so and Aquarius does not want to act inaccurately. Gosh, it's such a problem. For Aquarius, the cost of incorrect action is not just failure, it is structural error. It is building impact on a foundation that does not hold. So, what looks like hesitation from the outside is filtration. It is the psyche trying to eliminate distortion before it enters reality through action. This is where the psychological lock appears most clearly. Aquarius does not fear missing the moment. It fears acting on incomplete reality. It fears defining direction before reality has fully revealed itself. So instead of fearing delay, Aquarius fears premature certainty. And because of that, Aquarius will tolerate waiting. It will tolerate watching a moment pass. It will tolerate not acting when others expect movement. If the alternative is acting on something that does not fully hold. So, because to Aquarius, missing the moment is recoverable, but acting on something structurally incorrect creates consequences that have to be undone. This is where Pluto in fall deepens the pattern. Pluto governs power, intensity, and transformation through impact. In fall, that relationship to power becomes cautious and internally processed before it is externally expressed. Aquarius does not instinctively step into power through action. It understands power, maps power, analyzes power, but does not always enter power in real time. So there can be hesitation around enforcement, delay around boundaries, reluctance to impose on reality, even when the internal system is clear, because enforcement requires immediate engagement. And immediate engagement requires trust in the present moment. And that is where Aquarius is least comfortable. So clarity sharpens internally, understanding deepens, but action remains delayed until something forces it. And when Aquarius finally moves under pressure, it can come out in bursts, sudden, decisive, sometimes disproportionately intense relative to the moment. Not because Aquarius is inherently volatile, but because action was postponed instead of integrated progressively. From the outside, people see someone who understands everything, explains everything, predicts everything. Hello, quotation is I know. And still does not always move when movement is required. You knew this, why didn't you act? You saw this coming, why didn't you do something? You understand the problem, why does nothing change? I constantly find myself golly, I've been working at this place for almost what is it? 12 years? Jeez. Hang on a minute. So I've been working at this place for almost 12 years, and I hear a little something, someone tells me a little piece of information, and I already know where we're all going to be in 2 weeks' time, and then 2 weeks' time comes, and it happens, and I'm just sitting here like, yep, saw the pattern, knew it was going to happen, just let it be what it is, let people learn their own consequences, like it's a thing. So internally, Aquarius does not experience this as failure. It experiences it as incomplete readiness. Because from its perspective, action should only occur when the system is fully aligned. But this is where integration begins. Outer masculine is not meant to eliminate uncertainty before action. It is meant to engage reality while uncertainty still exists. It is meant to act in alignment, not in perfection. I never, ever, 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 ever feel ready for these presentations. I can literally sit here for a week. I don't think I've ever taken a whole week to do a video. I've taken probably a good I would probably say I have. On some series, I've probably taken a whole week to get myself together for a video or a video series. I can just spend so much time preparing myself for these videos. I never feel ready. And then you end up filming, you do it, and then you watch it and you're like, wow, that was absolutely amazing. So it's just like, you're never going to feel ready. You just need to go for it. You will be surprised. You need to trust in yourself to just do it. Don't worry about being perfect, because there's no such thing. Just saying. An Aquarius in its distortion waits for a level of clarity that reality does not require before it moves. So instead of perception, process, define, act, it becomes contain, define, late, connection, and delayed action. So others experience absence, delay, and detachment from consequence. Aquarius experiences clarity, completion, and internal resolution. But those are not the same thing. So I do want to close out the outer masculine. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So the outer masculine, SE inferior, and Pluto in fall. So the outer masculine is the external execution, enforcement, and impact delivery. How the psyche acts on reality and creates consequence in the external world. So this includes action, decision, movement, enforcement, boundary setting, and real world engagement. So these include 2 valid expressions: aligned or late. Aligned, late, and healthy use. Action emerges after perception, processing, and definition. Decisions are grounded and precise. Boundaries reflect integrated values. Boundaries. The FI in an integrated form for Aquarius, FI can become mega strong. Boundaries can be an issue for Aquarius and the INFJ or Pisces. It can be extremely frustrating. Aquarius definitely has more boundaries than Pisces, though. The TE parent and FI child certainly help. All right. So, anyways, boundaries reflect integrated values. Movement is intentional and responsive, creates clean impact with minimal correction needed. So, premature action used to escape uncertainty or emotion. Force applied before understanding is complete. Reactive decisions and misalignment creates unnecessary consequences and rework cycles. Action replaces earlier stages instead of completing them. All right, so let me make sure I didn't miss anything in this section. Yeah, Aquariuses, they do not want to introduce consequence into reality. So they wait not for confidence, not for motivation, but for coherence. I am constantly saying, I hope my videos are coherent. That is a thing you will hear me say over and over again. I hope this is organized. I hope this is coherent. I hope this is good enough. Wild. All right. So what others experience here in the outer masculine, I'm still trying to close this section out. You knew all of this, but didn't do anything. You're slow to move. But internally, Aquarius was still refining this system. All right. So yeah, I think I did pretty well. All right. So anyways, moving on. So, all right, where was I? So others experience absence, delay, and detachment from consequence. Aquarius experiences clarity, completion, and internal resolution. But those are not the same thing because internal completion does not equal external impact. Understanding does not equal change. Clarity does not equal movement. That is the final integration point. Aquarius does not need to stop seeing patterns first. It does not need to stop building systems. It does not need to abandon internal precision. What it needs to do is allow action to participate in reality rather than waiting for reality to be fully resolved before engaging it. I do want to say one more side note. I know a lot of it was my mommy nerves, but like, I can just I prepare for a lot. It doesn't matter, like vacation, travel, kids, these presentations. I spend a lot of time preparing because I'm always constantly projecting forward into the future. That creates a lot of mental anxiety. You can never prepare for it all, but you know what? I'm the one, like if someone at work needs contact solution, they need a nail clipper, they need band-aids, like I have the first aid kit ready to go, rock and roll. We over prepare and we tend to miss out in the moment because we're not in it. We're just too far ahead. So gosh, it's imperative to get out of your head and ground yourself. Certainly. All right, so Aquarius does not need to stop seeing patterns first. It does not need to stop building systems. It does not need to abandon internal precision. What it needs to do is allow action to participate in reality rather than waiting for reality to be fully resolved before engaging it, over preparing. Because reality is not fully knowable from a distance. It reveals itself through interaction. Let me repeat that. Reality is not fully knowable from a distance. It reveals itself through interaction. So the shift is not act without thinking. The shift is allow action to refine understanding. Because when Aquarius begins to trust that action does not corrupt clarity, but sharpens it, everything changes. Execution becomes lighter, timing becomes more natural, impact becomes more aligned with reality as it is happening, not just as it has been internally defined. Aquarius does not struggle to understand reality, it struggles to enter it before it feels fully complete. And that is the full system. All right, so I'm going to scroll through this other 94 pages of notes. And make sure I didn't skip over something crazy important. All right, so good. When Aquarius is integrated, it does not lose its ability to see patterns. It does not lose structural intelligence. It does not become emotionally driven or reactive. Doesn't that just make you want to throw up when people are emotionally driven? What changes is not what it does, but when it does it. It lets reality update the pattern before locking the pattern into structure. It connects before finalizing. It acts before waiting for perfection. Its system becomes more accurate. Its definitions require less correction. Its relationships feel less bypassed. Its actions land at the right time. Aquarius does not need to become something else to integrate. It needs to bring reality back into the process before it decides what reality is. Because the strength of Aquarius is not just that it can understand systems, it is that it can understand them accurately. But accuracy only happens when reality is allowed to fully arrive before it is structured. Yay! All right, so I'm at 1 hour and 10 minutes. That is all I have for this video. I think I feel pretty decent about it. I think that was awesome. I've never in my entire life heard anyone else explain Aquarius like this, so I really do hope you enjoyed it. Just a little reminder that I have I don't know how many books. Am I connected to the internet? Give me one moment. I might be able to actually pull this up. We can go through this together if I'm connected to the internet, which I think I actually am. The problem, I'm wanting to bring up my books. All right, here we go. All right, so this is my website. I do have, all right, let me see what page I'm on. This is the second page. Okay. I can't even remember. I've written like 35 books. Okay, so I do have some books for sale and some free for Aquarius. So I literally spent an entire year working on Aquarius astro-psychologically. So I am an Aquarian mind, and we are very misunderstood. Very, very misunderstood personality. So anyways, I'm going to show you, this is my website. I have many books available for the Aquarius or INTJ. I have a playlist here on YouTube. I don't even know how many videos I have in that playlist. Let me just look if I can find it quickly. Aquarius, where are you? Why is this not in alphabetical order? Really? Oh. Nope. How do you put this in? Why did that not pop up? I have it date added newest, and I literally just added a video to Aquarius. Last video added. Maybe that'll help. There it is. All right, so I have 162 videos. 162 videos in my Aquarian playlist. So you can find that on my YouTube. Ebook wise, I have a book on the Aquarius or INTJ wealth guide, nervous system reset guide, the Aquarius INTJ archetype, an in-depth astro-psychological analysis ebook. So that is my master framework on Aquarius. That does not break down the overall masculine and feminine. It does not break down moral load bearing, and it does not break down the inner and outer masculine and feminine. I am currently working on that ebook. It is probably going to be over 700 pages long. So after I finish this series, I've got 2 or 3 Gemini videos to do, and then I am going to probably take a week or 2 break, maybe a week, to really try to get this moral cognitive multi-axis ebook out. So this Aquarius ebook, I am just breaking down the astro-psychological framework on the key card. Where is that at? On this key card. So excluding the inner and outer masculine and feminine. It's still an amazing place to start as I bring up every single key card I have. All right, so those are available. Okay, so I need to go back to my first page. I was worried about that because this is probably going to take a while to load. I am hotspotting. I do not have the internet. It is wild. All right, what other Aquarius books do I have? Here we go. I've done so much work on Aquarius. I spent an entire year working on Aquarius. All right, so I have an Aquarian or INTJ emotional mastery guidebook. That is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous books. Aquarius or INTJ planetary triggers architecture ebook. That is free. The first 11 people that download that. I think I have 3 downloads so far. So after I hit 11, I will be putting that for sale. I also have an Aquarius or INTJ cognitive architecture ebook. So these are very visual, very beautiful. I used a different software program and those are just awesome. So 2 free books on the planetary triggers and the cognitive triggers. 3 more free ebooks for the first 11 people that download. So we also have Aquarius or INTJ boundaries architecture, keeping a purposeful life, and then the toxic and healthy masculinity and femininity introduction for Aquarius or INTJ. So I have 5 free ebooks still for Aquarius. And that is it so far. So do check those out in the description below. Hopefully I remember to put them in the comment box as well. So anyway, feel free to leave your thoughts and feelings on this video. Let me know how you liked it, if you resonated with it, if it was the worst video you've ever seen on it, if it was the best. Let me know, criticize me. It's all right. I can handle it. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next video.